From the lotus of my heart, I offer drinking water. May this water satisfy all who suffer from thirst. May the water of truth alleviate all suffering. Receive, O enlightened ones, the pure water of the earth. Om Vajra Agnim Ahum. From the lotus of my heart, I offer breathing water. May all physical impurities be removed. May all karmic patterns be cleansed. Receive, O enlightened ones, refreshing water to bathe.
Here we go. So somehow we've managed to sort out enough technology. Now it all depends on the weather. So if Josh, you cut out, we'll just carry on and do the best we can without you. Hopefully that won't happen. But for right now, our weather is benign. There's no promises. Last night it was thunder and lightning. Today we had beautiful blue skies. So the text that I've chosen to talk with you, you know, what I've decided to do with these Zooming experiences is whatever happens to be my inspiration of the moment is what I want to share with you. And of course, on the one hand, that's pretty exciting because it's new stuff. And on the other hand, it's kind of unnerving because it's new stuff. And so I will be looking at my notes over here every now and then just to keep myself sure that I'm heading in the direction I'd hoped to share with you. The text that I'm sharing, that I'm working with today, it comes from a Lama who lives in New Zealand. It's a Western Lama. His name is Tarchin Hearn. And I don't know where I got this, this text. Someone must have given it to me. But he wrote about generosity, which of course is one of my favorite topics. And the way he wrote about it was so inspiring and just using a different languaging. The thing that sort of caught my attention was the idea that generosity makes us supple. And he he expressed this using the word give. So not give in the sense of I'm giving you something, but in the sense of if somebody pushes against you, that you go with the flow of the push. And so this was his way of pointing out that in life, we are constantly being moved around by life. We awaken in the moment, and we have our experiences in the moment. And at times, there's things coming towards us that demonstrate our receiving. And then there are times when we are being asked to give. And so the more supple and fluid we can keep that experience if we keep remembering that everything is constantly being called upon to surrender in this particular realm that we are dwelling in. There are the parents give to their children and surrender their time, their energy, their resources. And then as things change, children get older, then the children surrender to take care of the parents as they age and need help. And the students receive from the teacher the generosity, the largesse of whatever the teacher has to offer. And then the teacher receives from the students whatever support or whatever inspiration, because I confess, I take a lot of my inspiration from you guys. When you ask questions, when you share with me your life process and how to make the Dharma relevant to your life process, that inspires me. That's definitely a give back. So this idea of giving was so beautifully expressed by Tarchin Hearn as the responsiveness that we have to each other and to each moment, and that as we move with it in a flexible fashion, that this generates an atmosphere that's very powerful and important. So then he went on to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is the accumulation of merit, because for 10 years, I couldn't figure out what this meant. It didn't make any sense to me. It sounded to me like we are wheeling and dealing with the gods. In other words, we give them whatever it is that they want, and then they're going to give us whatever it is that we want. Well, in a very basic sort of understanding of the relationship between divine beings, this occurs. It's true. But actually, when we receive the teachings from these great beings, they keep pointing to us to say, this is really not the direction that we want to take. It's not about the accomplishment or the achievement or the gathering, the grasping onto identity or onto things, or in any way onto a way of seeing ourselves as a solid, fixed entity. That in fact, that's the wrong direction to go in, to try to accumulate a sense of self. And especially in our culture, our sense of self is so tied up with material goods. We feel that, you know, we need to accumulate a lot of material items in order to have a profound sense of self. And this causes us unending grief, because if that's where our concentration is always sitting on the next thing to get, that actually builds for us a frozen identity. And in that way, it's unreal. So when it's pointed at us that this is not real, this is not true, in fact, this is what is being discussed, is the fact that we are a flexible, malleable, I love this stream of becoming. And so when we recognize that, and when we move with that, when we cease to establish ourselves with a fixed identity, then we are more capable of enjoying the moment as it presents itself. Because definitely each moment as it presents itself in this very interesting world that we inhabit is unusual. We look at it and wonder, where is this going? What is really happening? And especially, again, in our culture, in order to titillate the masses, we continuously play the bad news. And so the other piece of our resistance is this fear that the fear mongering of, look at how terrible these things are. Look at how terrible life can be. Well, indeed, there are many distracting, difficult, unfortunate, it appears, events. But at the same time, there's just the most amazing stuff going on in our world, and really fabulous people doing fabulous things. Just yesterday, I received a notice. As you know, one of my favorite Dharma studies is Time magazine. And I received a notification that Time magazine has invited a woman, an artist, to the latest episode or the latest issue. But of course, for me, it's an episode on my computer. But the latest issue is this woman who's been invited to talk about optimism through the arts and how vital, not only vital, but how this idea, it's like a sense of warriorship to maintain a positive, optimistic outlook in our creativity of our life, because she's expressing that our life is our art. And the way we live our life, are we living our life by taking a hold of each moment and seeing into it what the opportunity is for creativity? How do we do that? Now, I didn't have a chance to read the magazine yet. It just came in, but I just got so excited to share it with you, to tell you to take a look at it, because last year, Time magazine did the same thing with Bill Gates. They gave him an issue to show us all of the positive things that were happening in the world according to his business mind. Now, of course, he's also a humanitarian, and so he had many things to say about the fact that, in fact, that our world and the conditions of our world are better than they've been for hundreds of years. Now, as a woman, I can certainly say that in our country, the condition of women has changed dramatically. Now, I can't in any way, shape, or form say that that means that all the issues are resolved, or that there's a sense of complete and total equality amongst the sexes, so we don't have to think about it anymore. It's certainly not that. But in fact, things have improved, and we need to really celebrate this. We need to, and so this woman, the one quote that I saw was to say that it takes great courage to be an optimist in our world right now, but it is absolutely essential that we do this. Now, the other little piece, I'm going to see if I can find this thing in my notes that I really loved, was the Namkhai Norbu was pointing out that when we talk about the accumulation of merit, in other words, this was what had really bothered me, the idea that we were gathering up a bunch of brownie points so that the gods would give us what we wanted. But what he said is, and this I very much believe in my personal experience, that the Tibetan word that indicates the accumulation of merit is actually the accumulation of power. And this isn't just power over. This is power in order to effect a positive result within our own mind stream. So my analogy of this, my pointing out of this, is in many cultures that we study these days. For instance, the Hawaiian culture, they call the accumulation of merit mana. So mana is this extraordinary life force that can be accumulated according to our behavior. What we do and who we are allows us to gather around ourselves a sense of power that we can use to heal people, to encourage people, to empower people. So in the Qi, the cultures of Qi, so we talk about Qigong or Tai Chi. Again, Qi is an equivalent of mana. We're talking about the same thing, this idea that we can attract to us through specific kinds of behavior. Now, if we look at this behavior, it's not a mystery what we're being asked to do. We're being asked to be flexible. This is exactly what these cultures are calling us. Stop being so stiff, stop being stiff-minded, stop being judgmental. Look at the world and see that we are interconnected with everything that exists. And because of this interconnection, we need to allow ourselves to be flexible, to open, to when something comes towards us, to let it move us. And when it's time for us to give back, to give what we have to give without coming off our sense of stability. Because stability is an essential part of this understanding of the accumulation of merit. Stability and clarity, they all arise when we engage. Now, the other piece of this, of course, is understanding how do we behave with people? How do we meet the moment? Do we meet it open-hearted, with kindness, with compassion, with consideration? Or do we meet it by blocking everything that's going on and being judgmental and pushing it away? These things, when we understand them, we become more and more stable. With this stability, we become more and more clear. With the clarity, we are capable of seeing what activities gather merit and what activities don't. So I wanted to tell you a few stories, and then Tarchin Hearn has developed a very beautiful expression of the 8 offerings, because this is a way that we practice generosity as a ritual. And it's something that I encourage all of my students to learn. We have the beautiful 8 precious offerings music that you heard at the beginning of entering into this engagement. We heard Anahata put that beautiful video together. This is the opening of the 21 Tara video that goes on to express the relationship between Tara and the Tarot. And that music is, those were the first 2, the offering of drinking water and the offering of bathing water. So I'm going to also invite you to do a meditation that Tarchin Hearn developed, and I have, of course, taken it into our Tara Datu realm of music and dance. But before I do that, I want to tell you a couple of stories. One was the story of the Buddha, which always really appealed to me, because it shows that this generosity that we need to generate in order to accumulate the rarefied, refined power that we call chi. This story of the Buddha, there was a miser, and he hated giving anything away. He accumulated stacks and stacks of bags and bags of coins of gold. This was, of course, several thousand years ago. And he, to the point where his family really suffered. He had 2 children and the two boys, and they barely had enough to eat. So at one point, the miser went, somehow he had some kind of connection with the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, and said, and the Buddha said, you know, you need to loosen up, buddy. Maybe he didn't put it quite that way, but anyway, yeah, loosen up. Well, he couldn't. He was so terrified to give away any of his wealth. He was terrified. And so Shakyamuni said, okay, do this. I want you for 1 week to take a coin in your hand. And then I want you to put it in the other hand. And then I want you to take the coin from that hand and put it back again. Just do that. So when he met again in a week's time, the guy said, that was difficult, but, you know, I was able to do it, you know, because I knew right hand to the left hand, it was still mine. And then back and forth. And the Buddha said, okay, now the next thing I want you to do is I want you to give the coin to your son, knowing that he was going to give it back to you. So just back and forth, give the coin to your son. And so, and then come back in a week. I don't want to see you. So the miser did this. So he came back and the Buddha said, how was that? And he said, oh, that was terrible. That was really difficult. That was so difficult, because how can I, you know, give away? But I did it. And the Buddha said, and did it get any easier? And he said, yes, actually, it did get easier. So then the next job was, okay, now I'm going to give it, you give it to your son, he gives it to your other son, and your other son gives it back to you. And so they did that for a week. Well, the Buddha continued over the course of several months. Actually, it was almost a year, according to the story that I read. And eventually, the miser became a great benefactor. Now, the important thing about this story is to recognize that wherever we are stiff, wherever we are uptight, wherever we are resisting, that it's not the end story just because that's the way we identify with ourselves and our persona. That's not necessarily the way it is. That is simply one way it is. And it can change. And perhaps we can't leap into being a great benefactor, but we can start small. We can start with small acts of giving. So when you examine yourself, whenever you have a moment, and as I say these things, I'm not expecting, and I hope you aren't either, big aha moments to occur. And yet, because this information is so provocative to certain aspects of our being, I wouldn't be surprised if things will show up within the next week or so within your own awareness of what small changes you can make to accumulate merit, to accumulate this rarefied energy without a sense of grasping and resisting. So that was one story I really wanted to share with you. I hope you'd enjoyed it. But then the other one is something that, it was funny, I was looking for some notes about something else, and this one just popped in. It just popped in, and it was really sort of so perfect because it's a beautiful story. Last year, or the year before last, because last year, of course, I was totally absorbed with the Munlam. But the year before that, Miri and I, whenever I come to Brazil, one of the things she always asks me, what do you want to do? What is your, and one of the things that I always say is I want to go to the feira, the fair at the base of the tower, because there are all of these crafts, but especially I love the indigenous people. They have, at the beginning of where we enter the fair, they have these little blankets with all kinds of crafts that they make. And I try as much as possible to buy as many feathered earrings as I can. And of course, we had a discussion with the sellers to make sure that the birds were not being killed, that the children were just collecting the feathers that dropped over the course of the year. So this one fellow, this one indigenous gentleman, I had seen him for 2 or 3 years. And every time I try to buy as many of his feathers as I know my wonderful friends and students love. In fact, this last time when I was in California, it was really amazing. Everybody bought all the feathers, which is good because now here I am again in the land of feather earrings. At any rate, we had bought quite a number, and we were paying him, and he said, before you go, I have a gift for you. And so that's lovely, you know, it was sweet. But he's pointed to a little pile of herbs, all different kinds of herbs. And he explained that the headman of his village, they call them the Paje, that the Paje had said to him, when you sell something, bless the people, give them something, and let them know that we are one family and that we care about their well-being. And so he took this little pile of leaves and things, and he pressed it into Miri and my hands, and he said to Miri, put it in your car so that you will be safe. And he said to me, because of course when I walk around there, I've got my cane, he said, this is for your good health, this is for your healing. And it was such a beautiful act of generosity. It was so moving to me. You know, the front of his store was the front of his blanket. This man, you know, the indigenous people here do not have much. They struggle. They struggle to make their living and to live their culture. So it was a beautiful moment of sharing. And it reminded me of there are so many different ways to give. At the same time, during that same period of time, I received, again, one of my internet things from Lama Zopa. And this was from a group of his nuns who were making packages of tea. And they asked Lama Zopa if that was okay, if they could make these packages of tea to try to raise some money for a project that they were especially engaged in. And Lama Zopa said, oh, yeah, of course, but if you're going to do that, you should imbue the tea with your prayers. So as you're packaging this tea and organizing this tea and whatever it is that you're doing in relation to this tea, say the Medicine Buddha mantra with the intention that whoever buys this, sees this, thinks about it, even just reads about it, that it brings them the healing that they need. So beautiful. And such a message to us that it doesn't matter what we're doing. The simplest things that we're doing, we can imbue them with wishing others well. And this, of course, is the greatest generosity of all, the generous notion of wishing people well. When you're standing in the line at the grocery store, look around at the people and look at each one and wish them well. It doesn't have to be oral. You don't need to make a spectacle of yourself. Just really think this way. So rather than thinking about, I'm going to be late and I'm standing in this line and my feet hurt and they didn't have what I needed, et cetera, a litany of woes, instead of going there, then go to the place where you're blessing them. Even when you're in traffic, amazing enough, we even have a bit of traffic here on this mountain road. It's kind of interesting. So we're sitting around and, you could go through each car, even if you can't see the people in the cars. You can just think, well, somebody's driving that car. So let me wish them well. Somebody is driving that car. Let me wish them well. Yeah, so that's what I've prepared for you as far as my talk is concerned. Now, before I get into the practice, are there any questions or anything that you would like to share? Okay, Josh, do you see anything that anyone is asking about? Anything in the chat?
No hands raised and no questions in the chat just yet.
Okay, all right, great. All right, so now we're going to have a little adventure together, everybody who's on here. It's all of our participants. And this is, we're going to work with this beautiful text that Tarchin Lama, that Tarchin Hearn put together, and addressing the 8 precious offerings, but addressing them in a very beautiful way. So I took it and I rendered it so that I will say a line, I will say a word, and then we're going to repeat it. Now, Miri and our dear Vesta are going to go ladies, go ahead. They're going to show you some simple movements. And so you can stand and do these movements with them. You can sit with your eyes closed and repeat the words, or you can sit with your eyes, however you want to do this. This is just a little experiment to see if it's something that we all enjoy. So I'm going to get the music queued up. Okay, and then I'm going to stand. And I'm going to adjust the chair. And there we go. Okay, so let's try this. I rest at ease, enjoying the flow, enjoying the flow of my breathing, within me, around me, is the shrine, of the world, I open my senses. I appreciate my situation. The natural world. The building I am in. The room. The people. The content. I think of the detail. I soak in the fullness of the scene around me. I feel the presence of my mentors and teachers. Inspiring awakening in the marrow of my being. I feel the presence of all my sources of refuge. The enlightened one, the precious Sangha. I sense my ancestors. I appreciate the gifts I have been given. Through my bloodline. I rest in the immense ecology. Of this living world. I breathe with all beings. I pray for the welfare of everyone. I make these offerings to become flexible and open to the flow of life. I offer to all water for drinking. As everyone receives this offering of crystal water, I feel crystal water flowing through my body. Purifying my sense doors. It cleanses my seeing. It cleanses my hearing. It cleanses my smelling. It cleanses my tasting. It cleanses my touching. It cleanses my mental activity. I meet the world just as it is. I am utterly present. I am compassionately responsive to all that arises. Within and without. I ask that this water for drinking floods my being with the bliss of seeing clearly without judgment. I ask this water for drinking floods my being with the fluid bliss of hearing without confusion. I ask that this water for drinking floods my being with the fluid bliss of touching with wonder and curiosity.
I ask this water for drinking. I ask this water for drinking. Floods my being. Floods my being with fluid bliss. With fluid bliss of smelling. Of smelling. With vast sensitivity. Sensitivity. I ask that this water for drinking. I ask that this water for drinking floods my being. Floods my being with the fluid bliss. With the fluid bliss of tasting. Of tasting with fine subtle discrimination. With fine subtle discrimination. I ask that this water for drinking, floods my being with the fluid bliss, of remembering, thinking, and conceptualizing. This is the offering of water. This is the offering of water for drinking, and I offer it, without attachment. I rest at ease, enjoying the flow of my breathing, Within me, around me is the shrine of the world, I open my senses, I appreciate my situation. To all of my teachers, ancestors, sources of refuge, to the immeasurable matrix of life. I offer water for bathing. I purify and nourish the foundation of motivation. Turning to awakened mind. I give all my attention to whatever is arising. I wash the mud from my body. I reveal a mystery of awakening. In process. I nourish an appreciation for the interdependency of everything. I am determined to unfold my talents and good quality to help all beings flourish in this tapestry of awakening. Stardust. That is our living world. This offering of bathing water. I offer without attachment. I rest at ease, enjoying the flow of my breathing. Within me, around me is the shrine of the world. I open my senses. I appreciate my situation. Here in the midst of this miracle of being, I offer all that I am, and all that I have. Resting in a beginningless, endless stream of offering. Parent to child, child to parent, teacher to student, student to teacher, friend to friend, friend to friend, friends to friends, friends to friends, creature to creature, creature to creature, being to being, being to being. This is a celebration of life, of life. May I carry it, may I carry it through every hour of my day, of my day. These whispers of ancient wisdom, ancient wisdom.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. What do you think? Beautiful. Wow. Well, that didn't quite go the way I thought it would go. I thought I would hear more of you saying the words because they're so profound. I kept making the things slower and slower because so often in guided meditations, the words go too fast. We receive a thought, and just as we're awakening to that thought and digesting it, there's another thought. So I was trying to get around that by getting you to repeat after me, but it sounded like I was the only one doing the repeating. But I was so pleased to watch Miri and Vesta, truly grateful. So I would love to hear a little bit from you guys. How did you feel about that particular practice? Because I only did 2 of the 8 offerings. I need to continue to work on the others. But how was it? Come on, give me some feedback.
All right, I've got Merritt with her hand raised, so I'll go ahead and put that through.
All right, Merritt. What's up?
My computer, I heard your voice, but the music distorted terribly. Yeah. So it was very much doing the movement, concentrating on your voice to hear it through the static of the music. So there you go.
Well, thank you. Yep, this was an experiment. I hope I didn't torture you too badly. Nice to see you.
No, it was pleasant. Yay, yay. And I love my Brazilian bird earring. It's wonderful. Wonderful to know the story. And as an herbalist, yes, you always bless your herbs that you create for people.
Right. Thank you, Meredith. It's nice to see you.
Yeah, yes.
Any other comments? Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and put through Donna Conrad.
Okay. Let me see if I can. There she is. Hi, Donna. She's on mute.
I had to unmute myself.
Okay.
I unmuted myself.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I unmuted you. It's so nice to see you, Donna. How beautiful.
So good to see you too. I found the music, even though it was a bit distorted, to be hypnotic and releasing, and the swaying, allowing things just to pass and to move through me. So I found that very beautiful and helpful in releasing and allowing that goodness in myself to flow out.
Oh, wonderful. Well, Joshua has told me that when he puts together the YouTube, that he can actually use the music directly to replace whatever you hear here, so you'll be able to hear it better. But yes, there was a story that I was going to tell you. So anything else you would like to say?
Oh, just that Miri, and I didn't catch the other woman's name.
That's
But I know Miri, but it was delightful to see them move.
yes.
They are gracing.
Yes, aren't they just so beautiful? Yes, Vesta is one of Miri's main dance students, and she has been working on the classical Indian dance movement. That's the basis of what I've been teaching Miri. So it's very exciting for us to be together and do these wonderful things together. Thank you for taking note. Anyone else have something you would like to say?
All right, I'm going to go ahead and let one more through. Let's see.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Prema.
Okay, who's talking? Oh, Maria Concepcion.
Concepcion.
Ah, how wonderful to have you join us.
Yes, thank you. I hope we can dance this dance in May in Brazil.
Yes, well, once I get the words exactly the way I want them, then we will record it in Portuguese as well as do a better job with the English.
Great. Well, the dance, I felt it very like motherly, like this very soft and sweet swing. I felt like a baby, like I was being, swing. And I got to be very relaxed, just like a very, almost a womb sensation, like being in the womb, inside, this very soft flow. And I loved it. Thank you. I felt very, very relaxed. Although I couldn't follow all the steps, only by seeing them, I connected very strongly and I felt it. Yes, thank you.
Well, of course, what you can't see is I was standing next to the table and demonstrating some movements. None of this was prescribed. None of this was choreographed. This is all spontaneous in the moment. I just really wanted to share this with you. These events of once a month being able to communicate with all of you wonderful beings that I barely ever get to see is so delightful. And so I needed to pick what was really inspiring me. So thank you for your comments. I wanted to mention, one of the things I wanted to mention is I met with a really wonderful friend, Vicki Noble. I don't know if how many of you may know her. She was the creator of the Mother Peace deck, and very, very exceptionally precious woman. And she has created a method of healing that's very powerful. She has a group of drummers, mostly women, and she said she's taken up to 100, surrounding a group of women chanting, and in the center are people who need to be healed. And she's had tremendous success with this particular event. So I was very interested. We just met recently in California, and I was very interested in hearing more about this. And she said that at one point, that was so powerful, one of her guides said to her that in the rhythm breaks the pattern. And I thought that talks so much about what it is that we're doing, because we take these profound teachings, we take these prayers, and we set them to a rhythmic experience. And that allows the body-mind to relax and become more flexible, and therefore to stimulate whatever needs to be moved to break through the resistance. So I thought that was wonderful. So thank you for mentioning. Okay, Josh, how are we doing? Any more hands up? I think there's a big...
Let's see, we've got no hands up, but Donna Conrad would like to know a little bit more about the 21 Taras in relationship to the Tarot.
Okay. Well, that's a big topic. And in fact, the video that you saw at the beginning of our Zooming today was from a DVD called The 21 Taras, where I talk about the relationship between the 21 Taras and the major arcana of the tarot. This was something that I caught onto in the 80s, and I did some exploring with some people who are profound students of the tarot, and discovered that indeed they came from the same esoteric source. There's no question. There are just too many correspondences. So I did elaborate there, and also my niece Jessica created a deck of cards and created, that was a bug, created a deck of cards and also a book. And in the book, the information that I've been able to gather through my experience is in that book. So you might want to, I think, yes, I'm sure of it. It's in Dance the Goddess if you want to, get a copy. Thanks for asking, Donna. It's really exciting, actually. Those correspondences are really exciting. Okay, so now the next thing I would like to do is I'd like to share some news, because I have some really interesting news of things that are happening. I want to let you know that the music that I used, by the way, I was so thrilled because I wanted to find music where there was a beautiful beat. It wasn't too distracting. And believe me, if it wasn't so distorted, it wouldn't be so distracting. But it comes from an old friend of mine, Daniel Paul. He put together a DVD called Rhythms of Paradise. And this was the Song of the Sea. How appropriate for us mermaid folk. So I thought you would be interested in knowing that. Now, when we finish this, and when our dear Josh puts together the YouTube witness of this event, I will give you the link. I will include this news to everybody. So everyone who registered, even those who weren't able to attend, because I had a number of our beloveds say that they wanted to come, but the timing was not convenient for them. So everyone will get a copy of these. But for those, I just wanted to go over some stuff. So Tarchin Hearn, the 8 offerings, practice for cultivating flexibility and give. You can find that on the website. You can just look it up. Here's fabulous hot news. I like putting fabulous hot news at the top, which is that Taramandala, Sotramalione's beautiful place in Colorado, it's really amazing. When she first bought it, I was there when she first bought it, and we were hanging out in tents, but now she has beautiful, beautiful temple and residences, and just, anyway, they have invited us to do a workshop there for 5 days. And this is going to be in 2020, because this year everybody was booked up, me and them. So the 23rd to the 28th of September, 2020, we are all going to be at the retreat center for Taramandala. It also, we are hoping that 2020 will return us to Kauai, because we are booked in for our August event on Kauai, and the dates are August 15th through 23rd. So I hope, yes, isn't that fantastic? I can see my Kauai girls going, yippee, yippee. But in the meantime, this year, Ayana has promised to organize some kind of weekend event with the ladies on Kauai in September before Miri goes back to Brazil. So we'll definitely be there. We just won't be camping out at Camp Nawe at the beach, and it will only be for a couple of days. But that means that for the last 40 years, I have every single year gone over to teach on Kauai. Such a great thing to have a record of. I'm so grateful. Okay, so then, since our last Zoom, I took off from Maui on the 14th of January. And yes, I've been traveling. I just recently arrived in Brazil. The first thing I did was go to California, to Pacifica, to stay with Barbara Patton. And we made great progress on the teaching DVD for calling Tara from the heart. So it's really, I know for the past 2 years, people have been asking me, please, please, please. So we're really making progress. We recorded the script. We have most of the clips, the teaching clips. So now Barbara just has to put it all together. I spent a whole week at her house working on this with her. So I'm very pleased with that. And then we did a weekend at Fort Mason in San Francisco. That was so fun. I had such a good time. One of the things I was a little worried about now in my 70th year, as you all will hear me repeat over and over again, since it's so shocking to me, I find myself slowing down a little bit. I know it doesn't look like it when you look at my schedule, but in fact, I have not been able to do so much dancing. I really rely on my senior students to demonstrate the dancing to a large extent. And I've been inspired to give more teachings and more sharing. And I had no idea how that was going to work, really. I thought this is another big experiment. Life is constantly thrusting me into new situations. And I'm really happy to say, because now I see the girls in California going, yes, yeah, we had a wonderful time. It was really profound. And so June 29th and 30th, we will be in the Bay Area once again to dance for our beloved Anam Tupten. Now, about that, a couple of things. Those of you who know our dear friend Elizabeth Breck, she is still missing as far as I know. I haven't heard anything back from anyone. I have reached out to different psychic folk that I know, and they all say a similar thing, that she is alive, but she does not want to be found. So we're keeping our prayers open, and we're going to dedicate that weekend, whether she's found or not, to her and to all of the conditions of family members being lost in so many different ways. And so we're going to dedicate the weekend to White Tara, and we will do the practices of White Tara. Now, I am inviting everyone to wear white, but I'm also inviting those of you who have the costumes from the Monlam to please bring them, and I will bring white scarves. And for those of you who don't, I would encourage you to get in contact with Noelle, because she should make them. And that way you have the costumes for if we're going to dance in the masks, or we're going to dance with saris, or we're going to you'll have the underpinnings made according to your comfort, because it's really nice when you can dress in beautiful clothes that that express the goddess and allow you to feel just ready for it. So I suggest that you get in touch with Noelle. And like I said, everybody will get all the information about how to do that. So then the next thing I did was I went to Austin, Texas. And it's always amazing to me the interesting places that Tara sort of invites me to do. Tara is dancing in Texas, and she's dancing magnificently. We had one evening at a women's bookstore, which was, the place was full, and that was really fun. Again, it was just talking, which I really enjoyed, telling stories. And then we went to Wimberley, this fabulous retreat inn, the Wildflower Inn. And it was Texas countryside, these wonderful oak trees and desert, but beautiful. And the owners were just so kind, and they took such good care of us. And the sangha was fantastic. We had new people, we had old people. I think our oldest Tara dancer was 86. We had some youngsters who had never even heard of Tara dance. It was really, really sweet. So that was quite exciting. Anjali was the one who organized that event, along with Duane. Now, Duane was one of my students 18 years ago. She organized in Utah, and now living in Wimberley. So she helped Anjali, and Anjali was able to gain practice in being the central Tara. So that was very exciting. She had Adrienne, who is very well accomplished in the dance as Tara number 1 to support her. And dear Carrie Avery was Tara number 21. So she was surrounded by assistants and she did a great job. So that was very exciting. And then we went into Austin proper, where this beautiful, beautiful monastery, let's see, it's actually, it's a temple. It's a temple. Let's see if I can find the name of this temple over here. Yeah, Patri Pema O Ling. It's an Nyingma temple, and it has a statue of Guru Rinpoche that's probably about, I don't know, 16 to 20 feet high. So dancing in front of him was really amazing. And the first night, she asked for 2 nights. She asked for 2 nights. And the first night was basically just mostly talk story, which is kind of interesting because, as you know, I'm a little sort of rough around the edges when I tell my stories. But Guru Rinpoche didn't mind at all. And the room was packed. It was really fun. It was a great group. The next night we worked on Vajrasattva and the 4 powers, which is a very interesting practice. And we engaged in that dance and the dance of the 100-syllable mantra. So then I jumped on a plane and yes, Liliha was in Austin. Miri reminded me. And Liliha came to dance with us. It was very exciting. Liliha was in Austin. And we were insisting that she come and do some more dancing with us. Yep, she's waving. Yeah, it was wonderful. The group was just fantastic in Wimberley. And then, yes, after the 2 evenings, every single one of my flights was delayed on my way to Brazil, which was really a blessing because each time I arrived at a new airport, the wheelchair person had to run to get me to the next to the next flight. Every single one of the flights that I took, because I went from Austin to Washington, and then Washington to Colombia, and then Colombia to Rio de Janeiro. So each one of those flights was delayed just enough that I could get on, but there wasn't any breathing room. Fortunately, I'd had enough points to have a business class ticket, so they made me very comfortable, but it's wild. The friendly skies are pretty wild these days. I guess most of you know about that. All of our northern friends are really, a lot of the flights are shut down, and yeah, so that was exciting. And then Miri met me, and here I am. So where we are 3 hours outside of Rio de Janeiro. Our dear friend Vesta and her mother, Prema, we call her Prema too, T-O-O, and her father, Mukti, and her brother, Apollo, they have this incredible place called the Museo do Futuro, the Museum of the Future. And so we have rented a little cottage just down the road from them. It's really just ideal. We have a river running through the property where we are, so we can jump in the river when it's warm enough. But the weather has been cold, hot, rain. It has been really interesting. And again, now I'm going to ding the 70-year-old bell, which means I need a lot of rest. I can't believe how long it's been taking me to recover from flying from Maui across, it's 8 hours time difference. Yeah. So I've really had to dial it back. And my main focus was getting this event ready to share with you darlings, because I love it. I love Zooming with you. I love this opportunity to see your beautiful faces. And so I want to keep doing this. I want to mention how much I have appreciated all of your support, because that really enables me to be able to continue to do this. I want to give special thanks to Josh. It worked. There's an enormous delay between me and him. But the miracle is that we can pull this off no matter what. It's truly a miracle. So let's see, a couple of other things. We had a couple of cancellations. I want you all to know about this. One cancellation, Parvati, we discovered that Felicity has made plans to engage at the Sakudita conference. And so because of that, we are, Parvati, feeling a bit overwhelmed in her own life, decided that there was no necessity for her to represent Taradatu at this powerful conference. So if you were planning to fly with Parvati, you're still most welcome to attend the conference, but she won't be going. And the other cancellation, actually was a postponement, was Ecuador. The ladies in Ecuador were not quite able to pull it together with the finances and the everything that it requires for us to carry on. And so we won't be going to Ecuador this year, but they do want us to go. So if you're interested, you have any contacts down there, let us know, and we'll keep seeing if Tara wants to dance in Ecuador. The other job that I have that I take quite seriously, but it takes a lot of my time, which is to take all of the events of our wonderful Taras all over the world and to invite them to write stories about their Tara dancing engagements. And so I post these on the web, and then dear Joshua takes everything that I put on the web and he puts it on Facebook, and somehow we try to make it as available as possible so that you could see the wide scope of activity that the Tara dance has. So the latest ones that I wanted to bring your attention to, Andrea Abinanti, every year, Andrea, towards the end of the year, she invites us to invite our members to let us know if we have people who have died or who are sick, who need help. And we help to sponsor her and her friends to go to one of the monasteries in Kathmandu up on Swayambhu Hill and to sponsor them in making prayers for our worldwide community. And so the other thing that she does for us is she keeps what's called a wealth vase. Now, the Tibetans have thousands of different ways of working with the energy of life. And the idea of wealth and abundance, they feel that we should do what we can to accumulate wealth so that we can help those who are impoverished. And so one of the ways of doing this is to create what is called a wealth vase. And so Andrea has gotten a wealth vase made for Taradatu that during the year she keeps in a sacred place in her home. And then once a year, she brings it to the monastery and they make blessings and they re-empower it. So they bless it and re-empower it every year. This year, for those of you who went on the pilgrimage of 2001, you might remember meeting Druptop Rinpoche. This was Andrea's teacher, who also taught at the top of Swayambhu Hill. He was the fellow who found the self-arising Tara in Parping. Parping is outside of the Kathmandu, just barely at the end of the Kathmandu Valley, very sacred space. And when he was wandering in the jungle doing in retreat, solitary retreat, he found a rock where Tara's image had arisen. It's called the self-arising Tara. Well, he passed away a few years ago, and now we have his beautiful tulku, his reincarnation. And so if you check out this report, you'll see the picture of his gorgeous tulku. He's an amazing, amazing being. So that is there. And yes, Phyllis Moses has been doing a lot of writing for Taradatu lately, really kind of wonderful opportunities that she's had. And one of the opportunities was something called, let's see, let me get the title right, Encyclopedia of Women in World Religions. Well, as Phyllis points out, Buddhism or the Tara dance does not consider itself a religion, since we are not worshiping anything. But to be included in this very profound, astute book is kind of interesting. Phyllis wrote a beautiful article. She's written a number of versions of this article, and finally it was printed, and so you can find the links all on this on the web page. Okay, I think the only thing that's left for me to do here is just to mention our annual retreat in South America in Brasilia is in May, so please, pop over. Those of you who came for our beautiful Munlam, Paraíso na Terra, that it's very, very beautiful, and they are hosting us again, the 11th through the 18th of May. And then Taradatu International is holding its international annual retreat, a New Lebanon, which is the Sufi abode of the message. We're going to do 5 days there. Then we're going to go to Woodstock and play in Woodstock. And we've been invited by the KTD Lamas to have a little tour of the monastery. And we will probably, I don't know if we'll make any dance offering, but we certainly can make other kinds of offering. And then we also have been invited to go to Robert Thurman's place, Medicine Buddha, down the road from Woodstock, and meet with Robert. So that should be an exciting event. Then, of course, we've got Anam Tupten, we've got the mass dance in September for Damala, and from there, then we'll go to Orcas Island to recover. And that's the news. So any questions about any of these events, you can raise your hand or anything that you would like to say. Oh, the other exciting thing is that Amber, our wonderful photographer for the Munlam, has put together 27 video clips and hundreds of photographs on a zip drive that's available for purchase. And we've already distributed about 10 or 12 of those to a lot of enjoyment. So I invite you to, if you're interested in getting a copy, let me know and we'll make arrangements. Okay, anything else anybody wants to say? I'd also like to invite you to tell me if there's any particular topic that you would like me to speak about, because I'm quite happy to take your feedback about these wonderful opportunities. I haven't figured out what March's date is going to be because I'm not sure about my schedule in March. We have a few events going on. I've got to sort it out, but I will, I promise. So any questions, any observations, any requests?
One hand raised. Concepcion, okay. 1 second.
Okie doke.
Thank you. Yeah, about the retreat in May in Brasilia, will there be something new or special? I was not present last year at the Molam, so I wanted to know if there will be any masked dancing in this retreat or not, something different from the past regular retreats in Brasilia.
Yes, we will definitely have some training with the masks for those who wish to engage with the masks. And we always have new dances coming up and new options and opportunities. But there is something I wanted to say. Thank you, Maria Conceição, because sometimes we think that the important thing is to get the new stuff. We're always looking for the new stuff. But actually, the important thing is that we come together as a community and affirm the values and affirm the effectiveness of our practices. It's really important that we do this, whether we have new material or not. Doing the same thing, it's wonderful when I can have a group, most of them knowing the movements. This is what I experienced in California. Most of the students knew most of the movements to the dances, and it was very uplifting for all of us to come together and dance, not have to go through the stumbling around trying to figure it out. So it's definitely worth coming, even if it's things that you've already done. Thank you for asking, Conceição. Anything else? Okay, well, my dear ones, please repeat after me. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free.
May all beings be free.
May all beings
Be free.
Hang on just a minute.
May all beings be happy.
May all beings be happy.
May all beings be free.
May all beings be free.
Okay, thank you so much, beloveds. See you around. See you around. Bye for now. Bye for now.
Love to everyone.